Can you please share a brief about yourself? That what you are currently, where you are positioned currently in the profession, and also what language you would be comfortable in.
Good evening, ma'am. Kuldeep Goyal, practicing in Delhi, Tisari Court.
Okay, sir, for how long you've been practicing?
Just 1 year.
Acha, okay. So you graduated last year.
No. Graduated in 2019.
19. Acha, so you had been preparing for.
नहीं, मैं अपना फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टेंट का काम कर रहा था मैम, तो कोरोना के बाद फिर मैंने इसमें फुल डिवोट कर दिया।
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Okay, good to know that you're from Delhi. What about others? Just a small request. Himanshu.
Ma'am,
Okay. Okay, Himanshu, you are also the student of law, I guess, or you are a graduate? Okay. Anyone else?
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Dinesh Bharadwaj. I'm from Delhi. I worked with Air India for over 2 decades, and I have voluntarily left the organization to concentrate on something else. I am a German language expert. Plus, I have done my LLB from Campus Law Center, Delhi, and I am taking up this law as only as a hobby, which to know more about law. I don't have any specific plan of joining the legal profession, but it would be better if I have a good knowledge of the subject.
Wonderful. We're glad that you joined the course, sir. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Huh?
Ma'am, my name is Vipul Vaibhav. I'm student of second year BBLLB, 5-year integrated course, and I'm
Oh,
student of University of Mumbai Law Department.
wonderful. Great people. Anyone else?
Ma'am, I am Rakhi Agrawal, and I am planning to just thinking of enrolling myself into first year of the LLB.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Okay. I think we can now proceed. I'd like to share my screen. Is this visible to you? All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Akshay, can we start?
Yes, ma'am. You can start.
Huh? I'll start. Okay. बस एक बार, you will be here in the session, right, Akshay? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
You will be here in the session now, to just make sure that because I think you are the host. You are the only host here.
Okay, हाँ.
Mute. Make sure कि जो भी हो, you can admit people and mute them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we begin with Now we begin with the basics of criminal drafting. Since this is a basics course, so I was going through the civil side of it, that what all you have covered for the civil drafting. So I'll keep the criminal drafting limited to the basic level. Though there are many things to be discussed when it comes to criminal drafting, but at the same time, we'll try and cover the basics. Because we have 5 days with us, so our this lecture would be dedicated to the theoretical understanding, because understand one thing right at the beginning, be it civil drafting, be it criminal drafting, unless and until you are clear as to what the legal terminology, the legal terms actually mean, you cannot draft. You will not be in a position to draft what is relevant and what is required by the court of law or by the legal system. So understanding, let's understand, because when I'm talking about criminal drafting, it means the requirement of the precision with respect to the meaning of the terms, that is way too high than a civil drafting. Because here we are talking about accused, the allegation that is there on the accused, and here we are dealing with the fundamental rights that are there at the core of in a criminal case. So we have to be very particular about what words are we using, because they can have a repercussion directly on the fundamental rights of the accused, right? So precision has to be there. That is why we devote today's session to the theoretical understanding, that what is this criminal drafting all about, and what we'll be covering in the 5 days. I'll be discussing that as well. And then because we have classes till Friday, so by the time we mature for further in these sessions, you will be in a position to draft basic petitions that are related to criminal drafting. You'll have an understanding, and then of course, based on your criminal law understanding, based on what an offense is, what the requirement of a particular offense is, and what exactly relief that you're seeking, you will be in a position to draft it by, let's say, by Thursday, Friday, and we will be doing practical assignments in these sessions as well, because you find a lot of material in books, online, in different articles as well, that are related to civil drafting, and civil drafting is very diverse as well. Criminal drafting is very specific. So what exactly we will be covering, I think I'll come to that first. Yeah. So what we are going to cover in these 5 days is that we'll be talking about what are our criminal laws, what do they comprise of, our system. That's very important, because unless and until we have a understanding of the system and where exactly we are positioned as counsels, as attorneys, we will not be able to fetch adequate relief for the client. So our understanding of the system is very much important. Hierarchies of courts, that which is the appropriate forum for us if we are drafting for a requisite relief for a client. What are these concepts of summons and warrants? That's very important, because we have trials also that are summons trial and warrants trial. Because crime is considered as an act against the society. This is what we have studied in law, in our usual law classes, basic law classes, right? A crime is an act against the society, which means whenever there is an offense that occurs, wherever there is a criminal act that occurs, so it is the criminal justice system that enters into picture. And that enters into picture the moment we report the act of a criminal act to a police officer, and basically we file FIR. That's when the criminal justice system is set into motion, right? And now, if that is the scenario, then how is it that a private individual has to deal with criminal drafting? That's very important to know, that where is the individual coming into the criminal drafting, because criminal drafting is something that is primarily taken care by the state agencies and your court. So what do we have to do as councils? What we have to learn? So that understanding, no, because FIR is something that we don't draft. But is there a concept of private complaints? The answer is yes. What is the procedure? We'll talk about that. Bails, that's very important for all basic attorneys, because once you start practicing, bail matter is something, and if you've been regularly attending a case, basically courts, bail matters are something that you often, uh, you know, get easily, not that difficult. Then what is the concept of how do we file complaints under Consumer Protection Act, the petition style law under that legislation, and also at the same time, this is the petition under Motor Vehicles Act. That's very important, because these are matters that you find, because as young lawyers who are practicing, these are basics of criminal drafting, and you should know that how do we have to draft in these, because Consumer Protection Court and Motor Vehicles Act are special legislations. So how I have to draft a complaint under these legislations, and how I will be drafting complaints under your usual CRPC, and for the offenses of IPC, what is the difference between the two? Then the most important is writ petitions. Because just like we have civil writ petitions, we know that we have concept of writs under Article 32 and Article 226 of the Constitution, right? So, and we have habeas corpus, we have certiorari, we have mandamus, we have quo warranto, and then there's one more, prohibition, right? These are 5 writs. And these are generally, because the nature of fundamental rights is itself that these are civil liberties. Majority of them are civil liberties. So how is it that we can file a writ petition with respect to a criminal matter? We'll understand that. Alongside this, if time permits, that is why I've kept basically all these things are itself diverse. That is appeal in criminal matters, along with revision, we will be covering in the coming days. One thing I really want to discuss is 138 NI Act complaint. Because again, you may find many matters in, related to 138 matters. Can anyone tell me what is 138 NI Act here? Anyone?
Negotiable Instrument Act.
Negotiable Instrument Act. We commonly refer this NI Act complaint as a check bounce complaint. So
Yes, related to banking issues.
not per se banking issue, but it's just a it's actually offense where the person admits that there is a liability, a financial liability on that person, but he fails to discharge that liability. Check bounce. The reason that we have check bounce as an offense, we want to bring sincerity to the commercial affairs, right? So that I'll say that no person who's involved in commerce uh, should be misusing the provisions of law, that you issue a check, and if you do not have funds, but because check cannot be encashed at the same time, right? It is different from cash. So, and we know that a lot of business transactions, they take place on the basis of checks. So it is to bring sincerity, and that is why we have introduced this as an offense. It's very important. But NI Act means it is a legislation that deals with legal instruments which have pecuniary value. So check, being a legal instrument, has a pecuniary value, and if that bounces, there is criminal justice system that is set into motion. What is the procedure there? We'll discuss that in brief, and then we'll come to that how exactly, what are the essentials of a complaint when I have to draft it. These are just basics. The drafts I will be sharing with you. Based on that, you can, we'll be also having certain simulations, basically cases, questions. You can study them, study those cases, and on the basis of those cases, you can draft, and then perhaps we can have a look at it, and we can discuss it towards the last, towards the Thursday and Friday, the last sessions of the course. One more I want to discuss, and that's something, because we have a lot of matters for this in courts, that is 125 CRPC. Can anyone tell me what is this petition dealing with? Any?
Ma'am, it's maintenance petition.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. Maintenance, not just to the wife, but maintenance to children, both legitimate and illegitimate, and also parents, right? So, because it's a quite a diverse section, because the law with respect to 125 has developed a lot, has matured a lot. So a lot goes into 125, that even a woman is liable to maintain. A woman who's independent, who's working, is liable to maintain his or her parents. Daughter are also in, bound. They are also liable to maintain their parents, and not just, um, not just the men, the boys or the son, right? Husbands. So there's more to it. So how do we draft a petition under 125? That's important. Plus one more last thing. Let's see if we are able to cover all this, which is very basic. How do you draft a legal notice? Legal notice, and the most important, a reply to legal notice. I'm keeping window open for these matters. I try, and I'll definitely try, because my focus would be these. Once you have a sound understanding of the fundamentals of criminal drafting. I hope this is clear. Anyone who would like to make any comment on this? Do you want? Because these are just basics. And this itself, bail itself is very diverse. It's quite vast, I'll say, because we have regular bails, then we have bails, anticipatory bails, and then the procedure when a bail is allowed. What next? That's something you need to know. What is the procedure for cancellation of bail? What is the procedure, and then how do we draft in that case? That's important. And complaints under special legislations, that's important. Maybe we can also cover a case of defamation, because that happens a lot, right? I'll try and cover it if I'm able to. But these are the basics that you would be covering in your coming 3, 4, 5 days, basically. I think
Ma'am, क्या हम petition drafting and WS we will be covering in this?
Ma'am, WS is in suit.
Ma'am, WS is also in a criminal cases petition also. If we reply, if we have filed some petition, somebody has filed some petition, then we have to give a reply. That is called WS, ma'am, शायद, if I am not wrong.
जो आपके जो स्पेशल लेजिस्लेशंस होती है ना, जो आपके स्पेशल लेजिस्लेशंस होते हैं, उसके अंदर वैसे तो हम डिस्कस करने ही वाले थे कि पिटिशन का क्या मीनिंग होता है और एक एप्लीकेशन का क्या होता है, क्योंकि इसके साथ साथ एक और एक जाती है 125 के साथ, सेक्शन 12 BB की एप्लीकेशन, राइट? तो जब भी पिटिशंस का आता है ना, तो पिटिशंस के अगेंस्ट द टर्मिनोलॉजी दैट वी यूज, दैट इज रिप्लाई.
Yes. And at times I think the council says is WS.
वो तो बेसिक है, लेकिन हम जो लिखेंगे ना, हम रिटन स्टेटमेंट नहीं लिखेंगे, बिकॉज रिटन स्टेटमेंट इज अ टर्म that is given under, I hope if you remember, that is written under Order 8, Rule 1 of your CPC. So we don't use the same terminology, but yes, what we are doing is same. That is, जो भी allegation है, जो भी complaint है, उसका जवाब तो हमें देना ही है, audio altum partum. That is, we are bound to give reply to that. So yes, जब हम complaint की बात करते हैं, तो मैं बस basic discuss कर दूंगी, क्योंकि you have to explain your cause of action, your reason for moving the court. The onus is on you, and that is something you have to disclose in your petition and in your complaint. Replies are always a defense. So, and replies or WS, they have a standard structure. First, you have to deny whatever has been alleged against you in the complaint. That is a foremost thing, right? That is a foremost thing. अगर एक बार आप वो कर देते हो, reply करने के बाद, then you put in your story, that what are you alleging, and then accordingly there would be reply from the complainant side. So yes, we would be covering the structure of it, लेकिन the exact structure कि वो किस तरीके से draft होनी चाहिए, that depends on how a petition is drafted. Maybe I can pick up the petitions of one of you, and उसके बाद आप लोग के petitions के बाद फिर मैं ये कर दूंगी कि वहीं पे आपको बता दूंगी कि इसका reply कैसे बनेगा. That's something I can do. Anything else? Because I think this itself is quite ये बहुत जरा सा लग रहा होगा पर ये बहुत intense है appeals का, क्योंकि we will be discussing the law first in these क्योंकि you need to know that with respect to drafting there are rules. There are rules that are given in the procedural law, just like there are rules given in your CPC, सेम फॉर CRPC कि क्या क्या उसमें होना चाहिए. तो वो डिस्कस करने के बाद फिर फैक्चुअल केस को रखकर we are going to draft accordingly. Anything else you would like to कुछ ऐड करना है?
Ma'am, grateful if you could discuss the heinous crimes also. Maybe in short, if you have time.
Heinous crimes we can discuss, लेकिन with heinous crimes no, आप क्या ड्राफ्ट करते हैं, क्योंकि उसमें तो क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम ही काम करता है. आपकी इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी ड्राफ्ट करेगी. Primarily the onus is on them, right? Even if you are from the complainant side or you are from the defense side.
Ma'am, good evening.
हाँ जी.
Economical offenses, especially in economical offenses, if you have.
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat? Can you
Economical offenses, economical offenses.
economic offenses?
Huh.
Okay. Though they're very, very special, I'll try. I'll try. Just hold on for.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. You want me to cover economic offenses as well, na?
Brief.
So I can help you with the drafting of, let's say, filing because again in economic offenses the ED takes care of the economic offenses, be it FEMA Act, which is Foreign Exchange Management Act, or be it PMLA Act, which is money laundering legislation. So it is the ED that is basically doing the drafting, and that is what is interesting, because the opportunities for private individuals filing complaints is quite narrow and quite specific when it comes to criminal procedure. Right. So I'll try and cover that. the concept, there is in economic offenses, for example, I can discuss FEMA for you guys, that if it is a case of foreign exchange or foreign currency or foreign security, then maybe there is the concept of compounding of offense, of rather compounding of contravention. That is something we can discuss. वो हम कर सकते हैं. Compounding.
Ma'am, I mentioned about heinous crimes. My
Huh.
basic contention is if the law, you said the law agencies, investigation agencies have to basically take care of the case. My point is if they do not take any initiative or if they
Right.
in
That
the
that is something
the
that is
legal remedies.
something we will be covering here. If you can see my cursor here, I will be talking about that in the private complaint.
Okay, fine.
Definitely.
And last,
Hello, ma'am.
Hanji.
something about DV also.
DV. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When
It is a
you
very hot
file a
topic.
petition for DV, right? 125 DV Act, and then these go hand in hand. That is, if it is a case of domestic violence, then alongside there is a case of maintenance as well. So that could DV is something I'll
Yeah,
cover.
grateful because it's a very hot topic these days.
Of course, that is why I've picked up check bounce case as well. And the basic is legal notice. How do you draft a legal notice and how do you basically give a reply to it?
Hello,
Anything?
ma'am.
Hanji, please.
Ma'am, you told that you will give a brief about FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Act. Can you also even give some knowledge about PMLA and FCR Acts along with those?
Only if time permits, I'll definitely try, because these are legislations that are very important and very interesting as well. Though as young lawyers, I don't know how much of the matters you may get in these cases, but yes, for your understanding, yes, I'll try and cover these. When I'm covering FEMA, I'll also try. Because in PMLA, again, ED is going to file a complaint against you under PMLA. All that you have to do is submit a report. That's it. It is the usual criminal procedure that is applied, similar to what is applied under CRPC for heinous offenses. Law deals with special legislations differently, but pari materia, the stages and the essentials of drafting are more or less same. The stages of trial are more or less same. Any
Okay,
other
ma'am.
thing, or
Thank you.
then we can proceed. Okay. Okay. So coming to what is legal drafting in criminal side. Please understand that whenever we talk about drafting, even in law schools, the focus happens to be drafting the civil side petitions. Criminal drafting is something highly underestimated and highly overlooked, because we expect that FIR is something that is not filed by us. Rather, FIR is filed by the police, and then it is the police who does the investigation. They record the statements in their own language. They file the charge sheet, and based on the evidence that is collected during the stage of during the investigation stage, the court applies its judicial mind, and that's how the charges are framed. And then, of course, the usual CRPC procedure is set in, that is pleading of guilty and so on, which I'll be discussing now in detail. But there is a lot more to the criminal drafting. That is where an individual comes in, and it's very important. The use of words here, that is why I've written here, that it is way more meticulous and succinct. By succinct, I mean precise. It is way more meticulous and succinct as compared to civil drafting. Reason? Because the approach of law when I'm dealing with a criminal matter is very different when I'm talking about the approach of law in civil cases. And you can understand the difference between the two from the burden of proof that is there in both civil and criminal. In civil cases, the burden of proof is of course on the party who's moving the court, and the degree of that burden of proof, the degree is that you have to establish your case on the basis of the preponderance of probability. I hope you must have covered this in your civil drafting. Whereas in criminal cases, you have to establish it beyond reasonable doubt. So that is why your words in your drafting, they have to be very meticulous and succinct. Coming to the trial courts. Now, trial courts under civil law, though I think I haven't discussed, but I guess you must be aware, majority of you would be aware of, maybe I can share a document later on, where a hierarchy of the courts is structured for you. So we know that trial courts are basically the courts of fact, right? They decide what the true story is on the basis of the evidence that is deduced before them. And once that is decided, that's when the appellate court comes into picture, that is High Court and High Court and then the Supreme Court. So trial courts are the courts of facts. More than the courts of law, they are the courts of facts. That is, they finalize what are the facts of a particular case, right? So just maybe you can make a note of it if you are writing it simultaneously, that the first stage in a criminal justice system is that an FIR is filed. If not a FIR, then you can file a private complaint before a magistrate. Now that complaint can also be like just one of you said that sometimes police officers, we know that police officers do not do their job so easily, right? So you can also file a Can you please mute yourself, please? Yeah, thank you. So if a police officer, which is a very common scenario in different parts of country, that police officers don't do their job so sincerely, they do not register FIRs because their own service and everything, that is, if there are more FIRs that are registered in their jurisdiction, then they are accountable to the court of law that's dealing with their jurisdiction area, right? And secondly, alongside that, it doesn't even is not a, I'll say, a good incident for their service matter, for their progress in their service. So they will not easily register your FIR unless and until it is a heinous offense or so on. So even against such a police officer who's not recording your FIR, you can file a complaint to the magistrate, state the reasons, explain that yes, there is a cause, there is a reasonable cause that you have, there is an offense that has been taken place, and that is why you can request the state authorities to conduct an investigation in that regard. Alongside that, there are certain matters that are non-cognizable in nature, for which you can directly file and complain before the magistrate, and then magistrate is going to apply his judicial mind to the facts of the case and decide whether it is worth proceeding in the particular matter, whether this matter requires investigation or not. So that is a secondary element that the court is going to analyze. Once this is done and the justice system sets into motion, there is investigation. Once that investigation is done, then police will file a charge sheet. Anyone who's aware of in which provision do we have charge sheet that is filed by the police? Anyone aware?
Yeah.
Which provision of the charge sheet? The complaint is in 156. The FIR is filed under one. Once the FIR is filed, then there is investigation stage. And if the investigation, during the investigation, if police officer finds something substantial, that yes, there was an offense committed, or it was not just the offense that is alleged, but some other offense was also committed, then in that case, police will file a charge sheet. If police is not contended with that charge sheet, then they are going to file a closure report stating to the same magistrate which has a jurisdiction over that particular area, stating that no offense has been made out. This is the scenario that you follow. Along with that, right, now where the individual, now this is something that the police officials will be doing. Your just basic understanding of the stages of criminal justice system, the stages of trial is sufficient. But as a counsel, because you know that even a complainant can, or a victim can have his or her own counsel. So because under section 207 of CRPC, the victim or the complainant is entitled to the copies of the documents that have been filed along with the charge sheet. The charge sheet comprises, it's a sheet, it's a document that has all the details, necessary details pertaining to the offense. So it would have the name of the accused, right? It would have how many numbers of accused are there. It would have where the offense has been committed. It would have in which under which section, under which law the offense has been committed, who were the witnesses, their names, everything is listed there in that charge sheet. It has various columns, close to some 10 columns, where all necessary details with respect to the offense are there. Alongside that, during investigation, the police comes across evidences. Now, you must have seen even in your cinema and all that police, through forensics, it collects a lot of evidences. All of that, there are pictures of if it's a heinous offense, if it's a case of murder, let's say. So the body has been chopped and it was thrown away somewhere. Those pictures, those forensic reports, everything is annexed. That is you gathered during the investigation stage. All that is annexed with the charge sheet. Why? Because it is basically, along with charge sheet, the documents are nothing but just everything that has been gathered during the investigation, including the statements of the witnesses under section 161. That is whatever the witnesses were there during when the offense happened or something. So all those statements, the evidences, they are important to be annexed along with the charge sheet, and the complainant or the victim is entitled to a copy of it. And it is a duty of the court, it's a shall provision, and it is a duty of the court to ensure that if the complainant has not received it, then it shall receive it. So if at all, let's say police has filed the charge sheet, you got to know, but you don't have access to the documents that it has attached, because charge sheet is something that's not material. Because beyond charge sheet, there will be charge that will be filed by the court. My magistrate would be doing it. That is deciding whether this is a case worth trial or not. That is something you decide at the stage of charge. And police officials, we know that how well they are trained in criminal procedure. So they would allege any sort of offense. So I'll give you an example. When during the Kassab's case, when there was a attack on the Taj and the 2611 attack, police had filed 200 pages of charge sheet before the magistrate. So Ajmal Kassab, allegedly, he entered the station premises without purchasing the platform ticket. That offense was also filed, that offense was also mentioned in this charge sheet. Now it makes no sense because he was penalized for the highest offense under the Indian law, and that is treason, that is waging war against India. Now the rule with respect to criminal justice system works that if at all you have committed a major offense, then the minor offense is something that is taken care, because the essentials, the ingredients of the minor offense will be covered if at all you are convicted for the major offense. For example, if you have been convicted for the offense of murder, then you need not file for the offense of, in your charge sheet, you need not file for the offense of grievous hurt, right? Because court has this much of power with them that if the offense of murder is not proved, then yes, it can bring down the charge to grievous hurt, based on, of course, based on the evidence that has come across by the prosecution as well as by the defense, right? So this is a very important stage. You need to know this, that if at all, if your client was not given the documents along with the charge sheet, you file an application before the magistrate and you seek, and this application would be an application filed under section 207 of CRPC, requesting the copies of whatever documents that have been filed along with the charge sheet. Then Suparidari Nama. Now, students who are practicing, who are attending Maharashtra or different parts, Suparidari is nothing but whenever there is, whenever an offense has been committed and some property has been seized by the police during investigation. Suppose your mobile phone is lost, suppose your vehicle is lost, right? So that vehicle is, because your own vehicle is something that is part of your transport. It's important for you, but court has seized it because it was lost. So it is the stolen property, which is very important if you have to establish the offense of theft. But now we know that case is going to take time for, for its conclusion, for the judgment. So meanwhile, you may not be able to, or your client may not be able to use that particular property, that stolen property. That is why you apply for Suparidari Nama. That is, meanwhile, the case is continuing, I may be allowed to use my stolen property, whatever that is there, right? Be it your mobile phone. अब वो तो बहुत time लगाएगा resolve होने में. So till that time you would not be using a mobile phone. Answer is yes. That is the application procedure that you have to make. Plea bargaining. That's important stage where an individual lawyer comes into picture. Plea bargaining is where the accused, there is a the accused admits the guilt, but as against the admission of the guilt, there is a bargaining with respect to the sentence of that accused. And this is a bargain, and a bargain means agreement. So that agreement is between the prosecution, between the court, and then it is an agreement between the defense, that is the accused. So that is an application, because, and this is something that after plea of guilty, the stage of plea of guilty stage is over, and then it is the stage of let's say prosecution defense, or prosecution defense is also over. The statement of accused has been recorded. So any stage before the trial is closed, that's when you can put in the plea for bargaining. So that's an application you can make under section 265B of CRPC. Then most important is the applications regarding the remand. If the accused is filing for bail, right? So you can oppose that, right? Or if at all the court has taken you into the judicial custody, you can oppose that remand. So remand is basically retaining a person into the custody. So you can oppose that. That's an application you can make. That's an important part of criminal drafting in our justice system. Then once, if your client is in judicial custody, then in that case, you need to file an application if you want to make, this is standard, all basically different jail manuals have different application style, but by and large, the essentials remain the same. That is, if you wish to meet your own client who's in custody, then you need to file an application for that legal interview as well. And you are bound by the provisions of the jail manual. That's important. Then once this is during the trial stage, once that is over, then it is that what next? Suppose it's a case of conviction. What next? You need to file an appeal on the behalf of your client. That's something. This is where again the private complaint or the criminal drafting comes into picture. Then revision. I hope you know the concept of revision by now. You must have discussed this in civil drafting. So it's a similar thing here as well. That is, you are entitled to basically the right of filing a not an entitlement, but yes, it's a legislative permission that you have, that you can file for a case of revision to the sessions court if your offense has been tried by the magistrate's court. So revision is always on the to a court higher than the usual court, the court of trial basically. Then we know that this is the complaint that I was talking about. That is a complaint under section 190. That is a police officer not registering the FIR, you file an application here under section 190. Or let's say it is a non-cognizable offense. Again, you have to file a complaint before the police officer in this regard. And then accordingly, the justice system will be set into motion for this. Now, this is with respect to trial courts, but how do you enter into high courts from the criminal side? So there are also chances that if there is an offense, a criminal offense, or let's say criminal proceedings against you, during the time of arrest, there could be a violation of law. Your fundamental rights may be violated during the stage of arrest, right? During the trial also, your fundamental rights could be violated. So for the violation of your fundamental rights during the criminal proceedings, you have a relief of filing a writ petition that is criminal in nature. So you go through the website of any high court, and there to find a particular case, it will have a long list of the kind of petitions that high court accepts. That is a original side, a suit on the original side if it is a court of original side, original jurisdiction, appeals, or writ petitions. So this is how criminal writ petitions are acceptable. Then the most important, quashing of FIR. Suppose there is a FIR that has been falsely registered against you. There is a concept of quashing of that FIR, and that petition, that application is filed. We know because FIR can be quashed only by the High Court. No trial court, sessions court, magistrates court has the power to quash the FIR. So that application is filed under section 482 of CRPC. That's again a private individual, a private complaint, or criminal drafting enters into the justice system. Divisions, appeals, and the most important, bails. The procedure of bail, anticipatory bail, that is 39. And then bail during the criminal procedure, that is during the criminal trial, a default bail under section 167, right? An application for that bail, or let's say, but the person has been convicted and now he's behind the bars, there is a concept of bail even there, right? With respect to 3 years, there is no provision. You can look at the state amendments wherever you belong to. So there is a concept of bail by the same court if the sentence is up to 3 years. If it is more than 3 years, then you have to approach the High Court. So that is where again criminal drafting is involved. Then anticipatory bail, again, where criminal drafting is involved. Okay. Coming to the kinds of trials, because this is very important. Any questions so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Anji.
मैम जो आपने प्ली ऑफ बार्गेनिंग बोला है मैम, वो होता है कि जो सेंटेंस मिला है उसके रिलेशन में देयर इज अ प्ली फॉर बार्गेनिंग.
Yeah, so in plea bargaining, you admit, because we know that criminal trials take a lot of time to basically conclude, right? So there, because every person knows whatever they have done, whether there is adequate evidence. Suppose during the investigation, the police was not able to find penal evidence against you. But during the course of trial, because there is a concept of evidence that can be submitted by the investigation, which is called further investigation, right? You can file evidence against the person even during the course of that trial, because though it is not readily accepted, it is accepted with a caution, but at the same time, it's a trial court. It's a court of facts. So everything should be decided in the fair manner, of course, at the stage of trial itself. So, and if such evidence has surfaced against you, then there is the option that you admit your guilt, and then you can have an agreement with respect to the bargain. With respect to the sentence, for example, and this is permitted only for offenses that where the sentence is only for 7 years. For example, suppose there is you are facing a trial, your client is facing a trial with respect to the offense of, let's say, extortion, 5 years. Now, if you admit your guilt, so we know that you can bargain with respect to the tenure of the sentence based on the evidence. If it is a strong evidence, then of course, because your agreement is, your bargain is with the prosecution. So the prosecution is going to press for the higher side of the punishment. You can bargain it, you can bring it down based on the evidences. The councils, they bring it down to, let's say, 4 years, 3 years, or whatever. Considering the court will also here look at the fact that how many years it has been since the trial has been continuing, because it could be a case where the accused is in custody in that case, so that tenure would also be covered. So plea bargaining is a provision actually that is not quite popular, though it was introduced way back in 2005. But less than 1% of the cases in India are settled by way of plea bargaining. Our idea behind introducing plea bargaining conceptually was we wanted speedier trial as a prerogative under Article 21, but that is seldom achieved, because in India, the reputation of individuals is it's a very important virtue. So that is why many people don't opt for it, because here you are admitting the guilt. So they prefer that.
तो मैम इसका एक
हाँ
एक
जी।
प्रॉफिट ये होगा, एक बेनिफिट ये होगा कि प्ली ऑफ बार्गेनिंग के बाद आप आगे अपील नहीं करेंगे एंड केस विल बी क्लोज देयर इटसेल्फ.
Yes, because it's same as you must have discussed the case of compromising of the suit in civil cases.
Got it, ma'am.
Because if you are settling, if you're compromising your suit, that is, if there is a settlement between the parties, then you don't get to file this another suit on the same cause of action. You're barred,
Right, ma'am.
right?
Yes.
So
Ma'am,
it's
second question was,
हाँ,
मैम सेकंड क्वेश्चन वाज, आपने कहा कि जब आपकी एफआईआर लॉन्च नहीं होती है तो आप फिर पुलिस ऑफिसर के कंप्लेंट कोर्ट में जा सकते हैं. तो मैम हम पुलिस ऑफिसर के अगेंस्ट कोर्ट में जाने का ऑप्शन होता है कि हम सीधे कोर्ट के थ्रू, वो 156(3) होता है ना शायद, 156, उसमें हम कंप्लेन कर सकते हैं.
right. The idea is that only आप उसकी basically the complaint is, the essence of the complaint is that there is an offense that has been taken place, there is a wrong that has been committed, and that is worthy of investigation. That is the only only significant characteristic at that stage of your criminal case. Whether the offense has actually happened, what is the evidence or something, immaterial. What is important is that something happened which is worthy of investigation. So, because this is something that the magistrate is going to assess from your petition, from your complaint, right? That whether it is worthy of investigation. It could be that after the complaint, the person actually, for the IO, investigating officer, filed that closure report. But still, the concept of complaint is that you can approach the court and you can ask the magistrate, the agencies to conduct investigation.
Okay,
That is the objective here at this
ma'am,
stage.
because practically if you complain against the police officer and your case has to go in the same thana, you are going to suffer more.
Exactly. So अब अभी जब ये ड्राफ्ट करेंगे ना हम, we are going to see कि ड्राफ्टिंग करी कैसे जाती है. You don't
Right.
want to offend your IO, right? Because then you would be alleging that the investigation is not because even during the investigation you can file a request, you can challenge it. You can also file a writ petition if you feel that the investigation is not being conducted in the fair manner. तो अगर आप आईओ के अगेंस्ट जाएंगे तो वो तो सही काम करेगा ही नहीं. Then you have to establish that what makes you think that the IO is not conducting it in the same in the fair manner. तो आपको
मैम
वहां
अगर
पे
आईओ कर भी रहा हो और अगर जिसको हम लोगों को वो देना है, सपोर्ट करना है इंक्वायरी में, और वो सपोर्ट ना कर रहे हो, द एजेंसी जिनसे एविडेंसेस के बारे में प्रूफ चाहिए, तो वो नहीं सपोर्ट कर रहे हो, आईओ भी कोशिश कर रहा हो और जो भी विक्टिम है वो भी कर रहे हो, तो इसकी कंप्लेन कहाँ करते हैं कि हमें वो लोग ही सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं जिनके महकमे में क्राइम हुआ है.
महक में एज इन जिनकी प्रेजेंस में
मतलब जिस ऑफिस में क्राइम हुआ है, जिस हॉस्पिटल में क्राइम हुआ है, वही लोग सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं.
see that will be surfaced. क्या है कि during, because investigation is a prerogative of the police. Understand that. Prerogative, I'm using that क्योंकि उसके काम में interference कोर्ट भी नहीं करता है. The job of the court is that once your job is done, that is, the investigation is concluded, whatever you have gathered, we are going to assess that. But how you are doing investigation, there is already procedural law. Okay, how you have to do the arrest, how you have to record the statement, where all you can inspect and everything, right? What are the powers of inspection if it is a house that is that has women inside? Oh, we have all those procedures under CRPC.
So IO is very powerful, he can do anything.
नहीं, अगर हम एज लॉयर्स अगर हम ये सोचेंगे तो हम तो ड्राफ्ट या हम कभी भी अपने क्लाइंट के इंटरेस्ट बचा ही नहीं पाएंगे कि आईओ बहुत पावरफुल है. आईओ हैज द पावर. अगर उसके पास पावर नहीं होगी तो आईओ विल नेवर बी एबल टू डू द जॉब.
गॉट इट मैम. मैम आप अपनी प्रीवियस स्लाइड से एक बार दिखा दीजिएगा, जस्ट वंस, आई नीड टू टेक स्क्रीनशॉट.
मैम ये वैसे मैं दूंगी, अभी तो ये और इंटेंसिव तो बड़ी बेसिक है आज. अभी तो हम कल की क्लासेस से तो बहुत इंटेंस हो जाएंगी जब हम बैठ के
ओके मैम. मैम रिवीजन करने के लिए ये बहुत देर में आता है वीडियो, तो रिवीजन नहीं हो पाता इसलिए. राइट मैम, थैंक यू सो मच.
अब काइंड ऑफ ट्रायल्स होते हैं और ट्रायल्स के बेसिस पे आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि आपकी ड्राफ्टिंग किस ट्रायल में आती है. वारंट्स ट्रायल, समरी ट्रायल्स, समन्स ट्रायल. वारंट्स ट्रायल जहां ऑफेंसेस जो हीनियस बोल रहे थे आप कि 7 years or more. Summary trials, minimum 6 months of punishment. And then we have summons trial. The least, or let's say petty offenses के case में we have the summons trial. Magistrates trial भी होते हैं, which are maximum till 3 years, which is the power of the magistrate. But based on the offense, the magistrate is going to run the trial. This is decided as per the sentence that is awarded. What is a warrant case? Against warrant cases are those cases which are triable by a sessions court. Right? Here, the stage. Now, the term warrant cases is defined under section 2X of your CRPC. And वो कहता है that warrant cases are those which are a punishable with death. जहाँ पे imprisonment of life है और जहाँ पे imprisonment 2 साल से ज़्यादा है, उन्हीं को हम warrant cases कहते हैं. So there are certain kind of warrant cases, जैसे कि जहाँ पे 3 years है, that would be tried by a magistrate, but not by a sessions judge. Because from 3 years and more, we know that sessions judge enters into picture. Right? Right? So, but still, that would be considered as a warrants case, क्योंकि the trial with respect to such offense would be a warrant trial. क्या है अभी वो stages पढ़ लेते हैं. थोड़ा सा class में exceed by 5 minutes. Warrant cases में trial starts with the filing of the FIR. अगर वो नहीं है, then filing of the complaint to the magistrate, that's when the warrant trial commences. Then, once that is done, and magistrate satisfied है कि yes, there is an offense that is punishable, right? तब वो क्या करेंगे, अगर वो 2 साल से 3 साल से ज़्यादा है, क्योंकि magistrate cannot try offense which is more than 3 years, right? So then he is going to send the matter to sessions court for trial. And इसी को कहते हैं committing the case. Whenever you find a case which is not tried by you but tried by higher authorities, so we commit the matter to the higher authorities. This is called commission of the offense. Right? Now, what are the stages of the procedure in warrants case? From section 3 from 238 to 250 deals with all this. But what are the important features? Let's quickly go through that. Charges should be mentioned against the person in the warrant case. That's very important. Under which provision of the law and for which offense you're being tried. Right? कि आपके ऊपर क्या allegation है कि आपने commit किया है या नहीं. Physical appearance of the accused is mandatory in the court of law if it's a case of warrants trial. Cases जो होते हैं warrant cases के, वो summons में कभी convert नहीं होते हैं. ये इसको understand this, right? Then the accused has the authority that he can cross-examine the witnesses more than once. This is a fair trial provision. This is coming from Article 21 of the Constitution. And then most important is the magistrate has to ensure that the provision of Section 207 has been complied with. That's a very important stage. Akshay, can I proceed? It's already 8:05. Can I proceed for 5 more minutes?
Yes, ma'am. आप कर सकते हो, मुझे कोई problem नहीं.
Continue. I hope participants are okay with it. Then we'll cover the stage of and then summons बाद में करेंगे फिर.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Perfectly
okay.
all right, ma'am.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. What are the stages? देखिए, basically it's investigation stage, charge sheet, charge, plea of guilty. Plea of guilty, investigation starts with FIR or complaint or whatever. Charge sheet filed. If closure report is filed by the police, then the matter is khatam. That is, no offense was committed. If charge sheet is filed, then the magistrate will impose a charge on the person ki yes, based on the evidence that has been collected from the investigation, so and so offense has been committed. Then it is at this important stage of plea of guilty. It's a very important one. That is, opportunity is awarded to the accused that this is the evidence that has come against you in the investigation. Do you plead guilty here at this stage or you want to try this matter? Because we say trial, na? ट्रायल क्या होता है? To understand trial, relate it with the trial that you have. Trial like the trial that you have trial room in shopping complexes and so on. You try. You don't know whether you're going to buy it or not. You try that, right? Whatever you want to buy, whatever you have selected basically. आप उसको try करें. आपको नहीं पता कि whether you'll buy it or not. The decision is pending. Similarly, trial is basically that we are going to try whether that the person has actually committed the offense or not. How? How are we going to try? Prosecution will have to establish. We're going to take the statement of the accused, which is section 313. We're going to take that what accused has to say, audi alteram partem, principles of natural justice. That's very important. Then we give the opportunity to the accused to present his defense evidence in his favor. तो वो आता है, ये रहता है plea of guilty. Plea of guilty के बाद आएगा prosecution evidence. Then आएगा statement of accused. This is 313 section. Then comes prosecution evidence, and then comes defense evidence. This is very important. ये largely आपका procedure है warrants का. जब ये हो जाता है, उसके बाद arguments and then judgment and sentence if it is a case of conviction. Right? Now, investigating by the IU, the concluding report is made by the IU, जिसके अंदर सब फैक्ट्स फाइंडिंग्स होते हैं, एविडेंस होता है, सर्कमस्टांसेस होते हैं, जो भी है, स्टेटमेंट्स होती है 161 की, ये सब सबमिट होती है मैजिस्ट्रेट को. मैजिस्ट्रेट पुलिस रिपोर्ट को इवैल्यूएट करने के बाद, राइट, इट विल डिसाइड वेदर if charge sheet has been filed, but magistrate finds that whatever evidence that has been gathered is not worthy of a trial. It's a clear case of discharge. Then charge के stage पे discharge होता है. ये याद रखिएगा, that's the most important. But charges must be in writing. It's important to know. Then because you should know this, because यहीं से अगर आपके कोई भी अगर violation होता है, तो your case of criminal drafting, criminal writ petition का आपको cause of action मिल जाता है. 241 CRPC says that whenever charges have been framed and the person has a right to plead guilty, and it is the court who has to ensure that whether you want to try the matter or not. Now, judge का जो काम होता है वो ये देखना होता है कि जो भी whatever evidence that has been gathered from the stage of investigation, whether they point towards the trial of the accused or not. That's important. But alongside that, उसी के बाद there is a statement that whether you plead guilty or not. So the statement of the accused would be, I do not plead guilty. I want to try this matter because I have good evidence in my favor, because I did not commit the offense, whatever. वो नहीं लिखोगे आप reasons, just ये कि whether you want to try the matter or not. That statement is there in the charge itself, जो charge लगता है. And the charge goes like, tomorrow I'll also share the screen for the CRPC, right? The language is that I, so and so, the name of the magistrate, I charge you, the person, for so and so offense under this section, committed on this date, in this area. That is how the statement of the charge goes. But not relevant for us per se, but yes, the stage is important, because if there is a flaw in any of these stages, then that will amount to a reasonable ground for invoking criminal writ petition. I hope this is clear. Any questions with respect to this?
मैम, ये जितने भी सेक्शन नंबर का आप लिख रही हैं, वो नए बेरेस आने के बाद ये सारे सेक्शन नंबर्स रिवाइज हो जाएंगे?
Ma'am, just the numbers are going to change. The law is going to remain the same, pari materia. The concepts, the cases, they are going to remain the same. प्रेसिडेंस आप सेम यूज करेंगी क्योंकि मटेरियल डिफरेंस नहीं है बिटवीन द BNS, between the new laws and your CRPC and so on. It's only that the sequence has been changed.
तो मैम क्या थोड़ा ये आपने जो बताया, जो हम लोग अभी ड्राफ्टिंग करेंगे, ड्राफ्टिंग में हम कहीं सेक्शंस मेंशन करते हैं क्या?
मैम जब भी आप ड्राफ्ट करते हैं तो सबसे पहले आपको ये ड्राफ्ट करना होता है कि आप किस प्रोविजन के अंडर आप ड्राफ्ट कर रहे हैं. That's
तो
very
मैम
important. For
आज के
example,
डेट में
you must have learned that if you have applied for rejection of a plaint, then you'll have to write application under Order 7, Rule 11. You have to invoke that. In fact, you write down in the court of sessions judge, Westerly or Rohini court, 30,000 courts or whatever आपका जो भी है, आपको ये लिखना पड़ता है. You
तो
have
मैम
to.
in that case, till 30th June we will be referring the old one, and after if I am filing any complaint, any petition,
Any for
anything,
the fresh for the fresh, yes. इसीलिए ना ये मैंने लास्ट में this I will be taking up last क्योंकि it's only a matter of the change in the section numbers and the new law, right? तो ये लास्ट में एक टेबल दे दूंगी, you can take screenshots अगर if possible, just whatever that you have learned in the old laws, because old laws are going to continue for the old cases. Only for the new offenses the new laws will be applicable. So just change the number.
very important thing comes here only. So one should wait till this month of June to get over and then file the complaint so that everything goes as per new BNA and new sections.
But ma'am, pari materia, in a sense, the laws are same. There is no difference in the essence of the law.
So right, if we file as of now, at present we file with the old sections and our case goes up to the trial stage, then we will keep referring to the old section numbers now.
Ma'am, if it's of old case that's continuing, proceedings that are
Ma'am,
continuing,
old
you have to
case,
refer to the
if
old
it
section.
starts in the month of June now, if it starts in the month of June.
No, ma'am. The basic rule with respect to ex post facto laws, that is Article 20, Clause 2. So if a person is being tried for offense that was committed before the new laws come into force, then the old laws are going to continue. You can't change that, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, got it, ma'am. Then we will wait because new laws are much better.
Yeah. We'll see that.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to continue in the next class in much more detail. Please come with bare acts. Make sure that you have bare acts. I'll be sharing that here in the screen. bare acts लेकर आइएगा क्योंकि मैं जो sample specimens हैं उनको refer करके फिर आगे चलूंगी, because we have to stick to the specimen, the annexures that are there with the samples that are there with the legislations, CRPCs. Thank you. Akshay, can we?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. This was just a basic class. It's going to get much more intensive tomorrow. We'll be specific. So